sit back and dissect one of the most polarizing athletes of the 21st century. Welcome in, NBA fan and truth seekers. I'm Jay Skapanak, and with the continued assault of virtually every credentialed media moron out there, we're going to have to start at the very beginning to get to the bottom of one of the most hotly contested topics in all of sports. The LeBron Media Bias has roots dating back as early as his junior year in high school, and it cropped up early on in his NBA career when he beat out Carmelo Anthony for Rookie of the Year in the 2003-2004 season. This is despite Carmelo averaging more points and rebounds per game than LeBron, while shooting a higher field goal percentage, posting a higher win share, winning more games in a more difficult conference, and making the playoffs while posting a larger increase in wins improvement from one year to the next. But the most glaring early example of overrating came during his finals run in the 2006-2007 season. This is a point which still bolsters LeBron's inflated resume to this day. The LeBron single-handedly dragged a team to the finals myth. One of the most commonly overlooked criticisms of LeBron's conference-specific domination while in the East for the majority of his career is just how damn weak the East was during James's time there. The 2006-2007 season amplifies this point. LeBron's Cavaliers were the 2 seed in the East that year with a record of 50-32, while the Detroit Pistons were the 1 seed with a 53-29 record that year. The East that season had only 2 50-plus win teams and only 5 teams over 500. Comparatively, the West this same year had 5 50-plus win teams, 2 of which won over 60 games and had 8 teams over 500. In fact, the Eastern Conference's number 1 seed this year, the Detroit Pistons, would have actually only have been the 4th seed in the Western Conference. This is despite playing a noticeably weaker schedule than any of their Western counterparts. In head-to-head matchups this year, all Eastern Conference teams compiled a 193-257 record against all Western Conference teams, giving them a conference win percentage of just 42%. To put it simply, the West was better than the East, and LeBron's playoff path this year bared that out, as they played the 41-41 Wizards in the first round and the 41-41 Nets in the second round. Meaning the Cavs reached the Eastern Conference Finals without having to play a single team with a winning record, and both of their opponents in the first 2 rounds had a net negative differential for the regular season that year. When the Cavs got to the conference finals, they found a Pistons team on their last leg. A Pistons team whose defense was anchored by Ben Wallace for the previous 6 years, including their 2 finals appearances. He played in Chicago that season. These Pistons had not one 20-point per game score in their entire starting lineup, and they were also only 26th in the NBA in bench points per game that year. The Cavs scored roughly 1 more point per game than the Pistons during the regular season and allowed roughly 1 more point per game on defense, to produce about an identical differential. Meaning LeBron James beat a team identical to his own to reach the NBA Finals after beating 2 teams that didn't even have a winning record in the first 2 rounds. Making this run to the finals look like a far cry from the Herculean efforts the buffoonish LeBron bias media would have you believe. Now sprinkle in the fact that LeBron was playing with one of the NBA's best defenses that year, as the Cavs finished 4th in net defensive efficiency and 5th in opponents' points per game that regular season. But in the playoffs, they were even better, as they led all teams in the playoffs in both opponents' points per game at 86.7 and opponents' field goal percentage at 42.5%. This is despite playing more games than anyone but their finals opponent that year, the Spurs, making the Cleveland Cavaliers that season the best defensive team for the entire postseason. Getting us to our next myth, the LeBron had no help myth, which is somehow supposed to absolve him from the humiliating final sweep that he suffered at the hands of the Spurs. Speaking of which, we are going to dissect that series on the next episode, so make sure you subscribe to the channel now and join me for that deep dive into the 2006-2007 NBA Finals series. Are you finding it difficult to get the real news and information you need with the fake news idiots constantly lying to you? Well, luckily, I am out here for you. So click like, share, and subscribe now for your weekly truth bombs with me, Chase Kapanak. Until then, Godspeed.